Ready?
Ready.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Arkansas Financial Education Commission meeting. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and my first ask is that you review the minutes if you haven't already, and I would like to get a motion to approve.
This is Marcia Masters. I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much. Moving on, Fran, I think you're up.
So good morning, everybody. Thank you. I know there was a lot of information in your packets, and I hope some of you had an opportunity to take a look at that information. Just as a reminder, at our last meeting, we had a very interesting discussion about having a better sense of where, maybe it was 2 meetings ago, our first one, where collectively we are as a state in terms of financial education and behavior and awareness. So the ask was made that we would come with kind of an overview of information that attempts to answer those questions. And in the process of doing that, we as a Treasury staff also had an opportunity to visit with Rachel and Lindsay, who are with Arkansas Business Publishing Group, and they put out a publication. This will be the second year for a publication called Next Money or Money Next. I'm sorry if I'm getting them mixed up there, but the entire focus of the publication is in line with what I believe we as a commission are doing or trying to do. And the Treasury Office for a second year has agreed to be a sponsor of the publication. And in doing that, we are handing over, in essence, the space that we have earned within the publication for our sponsorship. We are going to use that space primarily to highlight the commission and formally announce the members who make up the commission, and also an opportunity to kind of share what our goals and vision are. So in the course of them presenting to us, they had a few, some slides in their PowerPoint that showed some very interesting data that I thought would be beneficial for them to share with us today. So just for the first part of our meeting, I've asked Rachel and Lindsay to join us to share some of that information. And then at the end of this, we'll have another conversation about the launch of the publication. So Lindsay, Rachel?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank y'all so much for allowing us to be here and share some information that we've put together kind of as we formed this publication. And some of you have already heard some of this data, like Marcia, who was super helpful in getting this together. But if y'all don't mind, I'm going to share my screen, give a little bit of information about the publication, but also the data that we put together to plan it. So let me see if I can share my screen. Let me get back to the top. Sorry, I didn't queue this up properly. And we launched it last spring, and we're really excited to, it came together really fast last year. So we're excited to kind of take a breath with, now we have a template and really prepare for the second edition. So the first edition of the publication was launched last year in late April. Again, this kind of came together really fast. The idea didn't really come to us until January. One of the banks kind of brought a piece of an idea. It sort of evolved into its own publication. So the second edition will publish late March of this year, which is just in time for April's Financial Literacy Month. So we're excited about that the educators will have it to use. We print 75,000 to 80,000 copies and distribute it annually to every 9th and 11th grader in the state, just to give you some background on that. And if you're familiar with our other publications in the Arkansas Next Suite, the Guide to Life After High School, which is really all about career exploration and college and choosing a college and financial aid. We partner with the Department of Education and distribute that to every 8th, 11th, and 12th grade student in the state. And we also provide classroom activity guides for the educators to really engage students in the content. Lindsay creates those based on each issue. And that's going to come into play with our educator survey, which is the reason why I tell you that. And then in 2018-19 school year, we launched Arkansas Next Pros sort of as a partner piece to this, which really highlights careers in the skilled trades, manufacturing, construction, utilities, and transportation. So just to give you some background on why we launched the publication, as I mentioned, we work with the guidance counselors and educators each year. And so after each issue of Arkansas Next comes out, about a month later, we survey them on, how did you like the publication? How did you use it? Who did you distribute it to? What topics did you find most useful? But then what are we missing? What do we really need to add to the next edition? And year over year, money management and financial literacy have been a huge request, but it was just such a huge topic with so many things that we could cover that it really just wouldn't fit into the regular edition. So when this idea came to us last spring, it was an epiphany, we need to create a new product. But, we're kind of back and forth on it. So we decided to do an additional educator survey specifically about financial literacy. And Marcia helped us out. We used our educator list as well as some of your partner lists because we needed it turned around really quickly. We got 80 teachers to respond in a span of 2 or 3 days, which also told me that it is an urgent need for them. But we asked them lots of questions for fun, fun turned a little scary. But first off, we asked them on a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared are your students to manage real world expenses and financial decisions? And the average score reported was 4.38, which was a little scary. I saw lots of 1s and 2s. I maybe saw 1 9. But that just told me that, as a general rule, we could make some headway here. But then we also, what we know, which is amazing, is that in 2017, Arkansas passed legislation that requires financial literacy credits for graduation, which is amazing. But according to the survey responses, the schools are teaching it kind of at different grade levels and as part of different courses. So you can see there from 7th to kind of peaking in 11th, down to 12th. We heard from a lot of people that they teach it as part of that 9th grade economics course, which is kind of the reason why, because we're distributing ours in second semester, we really focused on the 9th grade because that's where a lot of them will have that economics course, and then 11th grade because they're rising seniors. And in our opinion, 12th graders by April maybe have 1 foot out the door. So, but we did find, and I'll show you later, we did have a lot of senior readers. And then when we asked the teachers what resources or platforms they use to teach financial literacy, I was kind of surprised that each field had paragraphs and lists of lots of different platforms and resources they use. So it told me that, because it's not taught at the same grade level, each teacher is kind of putting together their own curriculum. And these are some of the top 5 ones that we saw over and over again sorry, I gotta move this bar here. Next Gen, EverFi, Economics Arkansas, as well as the stock market game. And then we saw a lot of Dave Ramsey, which was kind of surprising to me, but cool. And then we also, just for our bank partners, I forgot to delete that. We also asked them to rank the topics that they, would like to see us cover and that they really needed resources on. And so this is kind of, you don't have to pay attention to the numbers because it's kind of a weighted scale, but from top to bottom, some of the things that they really wanted to see: budgeting, living within your means, living expenses, so real world expenses, rent, utility, debt, financing your higher education, and then down, and there's even more on the next page. But this really helped us, and I can certainly provide, this in a hardcover, a PDF to you guys if you'd like to see it in more detail. But this really helped us curate the content and sort of triage all these topics and pare it down to what's most important for the educators. So that was great feedback for us. And then this is kind of just as an aside, we talked to a lot of different people, and we're really great at telling stories through our Arkansas Next, like not speaking at the students, but showing them through illustration. So one thing we wanted to add was young professionals that are successful in finance and banking and entrepreneurship. So this was our first group, and we're working on our next group now. And then again, providing the information in a kind of fun and punchy format. We love the game of life. This was a fun activity that we did that kind of ties to teaching students what annual salaries actually mean and how that translates to your career and your lifestyle. And then here's kind of an illustration of the classroom activity guides. But from the student end, I know you guys are interested in the feedback there. We put a reader response card in every issue where the students tell us kind of who they are, what grade level they are, and what teacher provided them the copy, as well as what topics they found most useful. So that was really interesting to us in that we sent copies enough for every 9th and 11th graders, but teachers really used them at their discretion, or the schools did, distributed at a lot of different grade levels, which we love to see. But as far as the student feedback on the most useful topics, we found that the number one most useful topic they ranked was student loans and student debt and financing your higher education. A lot of them were interested in buying their first car, building your credit score, which the design team hit a home run. We actually made your credit score fun to read and exciting to look at. So we're pleased that resonated with them, the game. And of course, they loved things like apps, podcasts, TikTok, of course, that's where they're living digitally. So that was kind of good feedback for us to see. Kind of the left is more for our bank partners and that, but 81% plan to buy a car in the next 2 years, which I feel like is a little aspirational. And if they know anything about the inventory right now, they might change their minds. And then what I was really the most excited about was that 46% of the student readers said that they shared this copy and this content with their parents and really started conversations at home about it. I would imagine usually for our regular issue of Arkansas Next, we see that number of you shared it with your parents around 30%. So I was pleased to find that this content really, they took it home and they started conversations about it. We even had a story about, questions to ask an adult. I should have queued that up, but I can show you that. I don't know what page that's on. So interview an adult, sit down, just really conversation starters that they can do at home with a parent, guardian, or any adult to learn more, to like destigmatize that conversation about money and finance and your future. So that stat there is my number one favorite piece of feedback that we got. And then we also asked them about which topics they'd like to see in that's our second edition, which, we're going to cover a lot of this. We're going to have more on, we've heard anecdotally, they want to know a little bit about crypto and NFTs, but certainly TikTok and the digital platforms, the apps that they can use and all that good stuff. And then this is just an illustration of, free students that are on free and reduced lunch. This has been instrumental in kind of getting our bank partners to participate, because I don't know much about CRA, but last year I found that now we found that a lot of our bank partners got CRA credit for their underwriting, which was cool to hear because of, we're distributing to the public schools. So I don't know if that was quick or slow enough, Fran, but did that kind of cover everything that you guys wanted us to share?
Rachel, thank you very much. We appreciate that. What we will do after this is we will send out to the commission the slides and the additional information for everyone to see. But thank you all for taking time and presenting all that. And Fran, you had sent out some additional resources within the
before we-
packet.
Right before we get to that, though, I just wanted to mention, so the publication, as she mentioned, comes out at the end of March, first part of April. And we would like all of you to, the commission, to make a note of this date, Wednesday, April 6th at 1:30 in the afternoon at the state capitol here. We're going to have a, I guess for lack of a better description, kind of a launch party and a reception, and have a few words from the treasurer, and also I believe Secretary Key is going to be joining us. And we'll have some teachers invited. So we'll get with some of you on that, but we'll get with you on the details. But for now, if all of you again could make a note of April 6th, which is a Wednesday at 1:30 at the state capitol, and we'll get back to you with more details. But we'd love to have you there. And then also, I would like to, anybody who sent a picture to me at the very beginning of when the commission was first formed, the headshots, those are what I will most likely forward on to Rachel and Lindsay. So if there's a different picture you would like to submit to be used in the publication, go ahead and send that to me. Otherwise, I will just go ahead and send her the head and neck shots that you all have already provided to me.
Great. And yeah, you may be hearing from us with some fun questions for the introductory page there. So Lindsay might be reaching out to you guys for that as well.
Anybody have any questions on the commission?
I have a quick question. Rachel, do you have any more of those copies of the magazine?
You do.
The one specifically with on the financial literacy. Yes, that one.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like some?
I would. I'm sure, it has been shared, but I would like to share with some of our youth groups.
Yeah, absolutely. I will send
And
you.
I'm going to email you.
Yes, please do. Or
Okay.
I'll reach out to you, and we can also send you the digital edition as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Good deal.
I will just share that these were very well received across the state, and a resource that educators have told me was very helpful in the classroom. So I appreciate the work that Lindsay and Rachel and their team have done to create this. I think it'll be something that will be very helpful for Financial Literacy Month in the secondary platform.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? We'll get out of y'all's hair.
All right, okay. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for including us.
All right, so I'm sorry,
Wait,
Fran.
So just drawing to your attention, in your packet that you all received, there are additional resources. I'm not going to necessarily go through each one, but the FINRA, the National Financial Capability Study, is the document from 2018. That is a summary, and what I like about this is that it gets into behaviors and thought processes that people are using in terms of making their decisions about how to or how not to spend their money. So that's one, an additional support document. Then our friends, Abby and Kara at Bank on Arkansas provided us with state-specific information about the banked and underbanked and unbanked here in Arkansas and in the country. So that's on a one-pager as well, showing that 7.1% of Arkansans are unbanked compared to 16% nationally. So I guess we're doing a little better there. Then this document, the next one, the Financial Literacy Education Commission, I did not realize this organization existed until I was doing this research, and maybe you all have, but I've included just kind of a summary of a report that they put out every few years and I was impressed by who makes up the commission. So I think there's a lot of knowledge in what they're bringing to us, but specifically, they make recommendations on how to teach and impart financial literacy and financial education. So I wanted to include that. You all have the entire report if you care to look at it, but I just wanted us as a group, to take a look at the best practices that they recommend. And then finally, in your packet, and this is what came yesterday, Abby, if you just want to briefly explain this report that you were able to find, that is definitely state specific.
Happy to, Fran. So the document you received yesterday is from Prosperity Now, a national nonprofit headquartered in DC. And if you go to Prosperity Now's website, which for those of us who've been around for a minute, they used to be called CFED. They've changed their name. You can go in and actually play with different pieces of data and policy recommendations to create customized PDF documents that might be of specific interest. And on an annual basis, they release scorecards for each state. And in some, and they have county by county data as well, where you can go in and look at counties. And I was chatting with Patricia and Fran, that the thing that I found really interesting as I got into the scorecard that was sent to you was, while they don't necessarily measure what is the financial education level of Arkansans broken down by, specific ages or something, the data that you actually see, I think, is really powerful baselines for, are we making a difference? Because it's a demonstration of how people are actually using their money. So you can see that there are, unbanked households. You can see net worth. You can see income poverty rate, which is most often what we think of by poverty. But you can also see asset poverty rate, which again is what would sustain people through a crisis or an emergency, bankruptcy rates, falling behind on bills, credit, pushing their credit to the limit, having over 75% of credit cards over their limit, delinquency, savings. So I found this to be and one score that did show you low financial well-being. So I think we need to go deeper to understand, well, how do they come up with what is low financial well-being? But I bring this up because I think it's a really strong document that is already in the process of being updated on an annual basis, that would offer some measurement to, with concerted efforts in Arkansas through this commission and the work we do, we would hope that we would see these statistics get better, right? And so thought it was really powerful. If you dig on down, it shows home ownership rates, et cetera. So feel free to play around with it. You can create quite a bit of stuff of your own and charts as well. Fran, was that helpful? Did you want me to say anything else?
No, that's, yeah, I definitely think this is a resource we'll continue to tap into. So I appreciate your finding that.
And the degree to which the commission ever has a desire to have Prosperity Now present to the group, they're very eager and a terrific resource, and happy to leverage those relationships to our benefit. To go deeper on specific commissioned research we may want, or just presentation on things they've already done.
Wonderful. That's great. All right, any other questions for Abby? All right, great. Thank you. Thank you, Abby.
Well, thank you very much. Grant, I think you're up next with our mission statement. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So as you all know, a couple of the takeaways, one was to provide some additional white paper research on where Arkansas stood. That was the first part of the meeting. The second part was to derive a mission statement for this commission. So we took a survey and understood some of the keywords, target audiences, and the purpose, and tried to, with our capabilities, give you 3 options for potential mission statements. So I would like to open it up for discussion around that. And then at the end, you know, after the discussion, hopefully we can resonate around one of the 3 options or some edits to one of those 3 options where we can get a final mission statement approved by the commission. So the first one, and this would be in your packet. Forgive me, I don't know which page in the packet it would be, but it'll be towards the middle of your packet. The first one is helping Arkansas families achieve lasting financial well-being by building key community partnerships, serving as an information hub for people of all ages who desire to develop better financial habits, and educating Arkansans about responsible saving and spending in order to affect generational change. Option number 2, serving all Arkansans as an educational tool, informational resource, and advocate for financial empowerment and well-being, building a more financially secure future for Arkansans, and reducing the barriers of access for engagement within the financial sector by any Arkansan who so desires. The final one, helping Arkansas families achieve financial well-being through education and network for now and for future generations. So with that, I would be glad to open it up for discussion and get the input of the commission.
Grant?
I would say I like the third one. I like how concise it is. But I also went back to the first one and sort of just removed a few words there. And so what I did was I said, helping Arkansas families achieve financial well-being by building key community partnerships, serving as an information hub, and educating Arkansans about responsible savings and spending for generational change. So I just took out a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think you all did a great job on those.
Commissioner Marshall.
Thanks, Grant. So I went in a different direction. I like number 2 the best. I lean toward not using the word family in this because I think family can be for some people that can be perhaps a negative word or a trigger word. There's a lot of individuals and students and young adults that may not view themselves as a family. And so I feel like staying away from that word is maybe more inclusive. I like all 3 options, but that was just my thought of that one, not specifically using the word family.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
So I liked number 3 the best myself as well. I think we could easily just say helping Arkansans and take out the word family, achieve financial well-being, because that would be all encompassing. I do agree with Patricia that 1, to me, incorporated more of the strategies of how we're going to do the work, which I liked a lot of that actually. I just don't know that it needs to be stated in the mission. I also do like Patricia's rework of in combination of 1 and 3. I would take the word responsible out only because it is indicative that people are being irresponsible. And so I wouldn't want to make that assumption. I would just say, educating Arkansans about saving and spending. So I'm happy to just keep it as simple as number 3. But I do like the combination of 1 and 3 with Patricia's changes, taking out the word responsible.
Okay. Anyone else?
I rather liked number 3 as well, with the substitution of just Arkansans instead of taking the families out. I do agree that I think some of the strategies will reveal some of the other aspects that have been nicely worded in the all 3 options.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, with that, I have edited option 3 to just read, helping Arkansans achieve financial well-being through education and networking for now and for future generations. With that edit, will that be acceptable to the commission? And do I have a motion to approve that?
I make a motion to approve. If there's no discussion.
There you go, so,
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Susanna.
Okay, thank you. So you've got a motion in a second.
yeah, and granted, any further discussion if needed. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, with that, you do have the proposed goals and tactics on the next page. With this, it doesn't necessarily need to be a formal kind of motion. I just want to make sure we do have the blessing of the commission that this is the right direction that you are wanting for staff to go in, and that this does encompass some goals that would be achievable over the next, 11, 12 months.
Do we need to talk about the 3rd one? For that part?
Not yet. So do we have any questions or any discussion about goals, tactics? Is there anything that we left off that you want to make sure is included, or any specific questions about anything that was outlined?
So Grant, I have a question about our role on that second, I think it's the second bullet, to offer effective financial education programs. Do we literally see ourselves as the delivery mechanism for financial education programs? Because this reads as if we are the deliverer of.
Rather than the facilitator.
Well, facilitator or lifting up best practices, or, it reads to me, if I read that, I would think we're in charge of making sure that gets done across the state, and that we're going to fund it and be the ones to offer it up.
No, thank you for saying that, because it would not be our intention to be the deliverer. So no, thank you for distinguishing that.
Identify and promote.
Yeah, what about language around like that? Identifying effective or promote,
Coordinate.
Support.
support, okay. Okay, thank you, Abby. Any other feedback?
Sorry. I would also add on the 3rd bullet, identify and support efforts to improve financial security and access, or put it financial security and financial access because that's actually one of the barriers, right? So it's not just financial security, but it's access to mainstream financial services.
I would probably strike the word family in that same sentence as well. Because we wouldn't want it to be misleading that you would have to be part of a family to participate in Bank On.
Agree.
Good point.
Well, and thank you for pointing that out, Commissioner. We will be more sensitive to that phrasing when we're writing these things out. Because that's not, we don't want to be excluding or anything like that. No, perfect point. Thank you.
On the fourth bullet, I just keep going. Should we say serve as a hub library of financial education resources versus create? And maybe we do plan to create it.
That we're going to have, it's kind of both. There is not that centralized location. So we were taking the approach that we do need to create something, but there is the, update, maintaining it as well that needs to be, that comes along with that.
I think the distinction, Grant, is we will be responsible for creating the hub, not necessarily the content. Correct?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's not worded right, create and hub.
Good, thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you all so much for that feedback. That gives us great kind of direction. And now we can go to work starting to implement some of these things. Again, we don't want this to kind of shut the conversation down. We feel this is going to be an ever-evolving process that we rotate back to quite frequently. So we just wanted to make sure we had something down on paper to help guide and direct as we move forward on this. So with that, sir, well, we're done on that part.
Okay, we're going back to Fran.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Fran, you're recognized.
thank you. So moving on to our agenda items for discussion, I wanted to see if the board or the commission would be interested in a program that we did last year with CALS, the Central Arkansas Library System. The treasurer and the executive director at CALS, Nate Coulter, joined forces, and we created what was a very intensive 4-week financial education webinar series. And our office brought together we provided the content and the content partners who taught the courses. And then it was jointly promoted by us and by CALS. And then we used CALS platform to actually do the webinars at night. I think it was 6:30 on a Tuesday night. They're recorded and then available for review later on both CALS page and our page. So we are interested in doing this again and wanted to see if this might be something that the commission would want to more or less be the host or sponsor of. There's no money involved. With a little bit of a caveat, one of the things we felt like having 4 different sessions in 4 consecutive weeks was a little daunting, not only for, I think, some of the presenters, but it really didn't give us an opportunity to, what I feel is effectively promote each of the sessions as well as the whole program. So we've had a preliminary conversation with CALS about doing this, but doing 1 a month, but for 3-month series. So it would be April, May, and June. So the second Tuesday of those months, we would do a recording, and anybody, it's all virtual again. And then we would take a break and come back in the fall and do one the second Tuesday in September, October, and November. So in essence, it's a two-part, we'll have to figure out the wording here, but it's 2 3-month periods. And we felt like starting it in April, which is what we did last year, obviously with Financial Literacy Month, and we feel like we're reaching a very broad audience, people from all backgrounds, and people can go back, like you said, and watch these. So it creates some content in a library. So again, this could live on the future Financial Education Commission website. So I would like to ask if the commission would be comfortable with us doing this, and in doing that, could we also reach out to some of you about helping us do that be the content creators and presenters. For example, last year, Abby helped us. We had Bank on Arkansas presented just the financial overview of financial basics. So, and it's, I think, 45 minutes maximum. And we can, talk to you about that. But for now, I just wanted to get an idea if you all were agreeable.
Very agreeable and happy to help, with agendas and speaker recruitment and overall design in any way that it's helpful.
Great, thank you.
Looking back, I guess it was the one that you all did last year. I thought that the subject matters were really great, and I'm eager to market it and publicize it and really try to get people to participate in it, because I think it sounds like a great project. Now, I am a little, if you would sort of re-explain how you would do it instead of the once a week for 4 weeks. Are you saying one subject matter for 3 months? I mean, for 3?
No, so like April would be one presentation, and it would quote come out or drop or be live on April 12th, but it would live on the website so people could watch it anytime. Then, so that might be, basics of budgeting. These are purely examples. Then May, we would come back and maybe do one on basics of financial planning. So it would be a different topic in May, then a different topic in June, and so forth.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would love to help you to market it and just help some of the other nonprofit organizations connected to the people that they're serving.
Wonderful.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
And Fran, if once people develop topics or areas of interest, if there is someone in a bank that we think might, or a certain topic that you want to drill down to, I'm happy to reach out to a bank to say, hey, would you come be a participant in this? Banks are a little on the edge there of they cannot necessarily provide financial literacy to their customers, but they're certainly wanting to engage with their customers on smart money choices. And so I may have, some folks that I could identify that would be a good fit and willing to do it in a more generic fashion rather than just bank specific. So if there's topics that get that narrow, I'm happy to make a contact list.
Right. Thank you. I'll for sure follow up with you as well. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. And I'll, continue to update you on that and get back in touch with the 3 of you. And then, probably, I'm sure at our next meeting, if you've had any other thoughts, anybody else. Okay, moving on. The next item for discussion, Thomas has started the process of trying to establish or to secure our nonprofit status. And it is a very intensive and time-consuming project, but we can get it done. But we would like to tap on the shoulder of any of you who may have had experience of establishing nonprofit status to help kind of serve as an advisor to us throughout this process. Does anybody on the committee have that experience?
I have the experience of just creating ours and then also helping a few others, newly developed nonprofits. So I'm certainly willing to help in any way that you think that I might be of use. Any conversation or anything that I can help with.
Thank you, Patricia. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then the final item for discussion was, as we will be developing a website for the Financial Education Commission, and we've already secured the name and we're not looking for anybody to technically build the website. We've got that. What we would like to ask for help with is if any of you would volunteer to maybe work with us on building what that content should look like and what we should include.
I would be happy to assist.
Thank you, Marcia.
I would as well. This is Steve.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Okay. All right. Well, we'll be in touch with you on that as we start to develop it.
All right, Fran, thanks very much for that. And now we have old business.
Fran has two couple items.
All right, also in your packet, we had offered to put in front of the three that this affects are the job descriptions for vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. And I understand Duncan is not here. Derek, if you would be sure, obviously, and he'll, he received this packet, so I know he'll see it. But if everyone would just take a look, if you haven't already, and do we need to do a formal, any kind of?
No,
nothing?
just if there's any input that you have on this, if you think we need to clarify something or add something, just let us know after the meeting and we'll get that cleaned up and just make sure it's part of, future documents moving forward.
Okay. All right. And then lastly, at our last meeting, you'll recall we adopted or approved the rules. And so there's obviously a process now that we have to go through in order for the rules to be formally adopted by the state. So that is the quote proposed timeline that we are wanting to execute, beginning with delivering, hopefully next week, if nobody has any objections, delivering to the governor's office for the first step for their approval that we can proceed. And depending on how quickly we hear back from them, the rest of the timeline would ensue. And I draw your attention to the last few items. We will, once we've gone through some of those initial steps, we will have to present to the Legislative Council and the Rules Subcommittee just to get their approval. And then it's officially sent over to the Secretary of State's office. So that's our hopeful timeline, subject to change, and we'll keep you posted. And also, I realized too, I failed after the last meeting to send everybody a copy of the revised rules. So when I send out the slides from our presentation earlier, I'll also include a final copy of the rules so that you have those in your packet. I think I'm done.
That good? Okay, Fran. So closing out, we need to set a meeting date. I'm going to propose April the 6th. for our next meeting time. I'm certainly,
That's the day.
Yeah, that I was trying to do it the same day as the conference to where it was keeping everybody to do one thing at one time. I think, depending upon how you all would like to do the schedule, we could either do it, like at 10, break for lunch, and then come back for the press conference, or we could adjust the times a little bit around that to where it rolled right into the press conference. However that worked for you all with, the world and COVID numbers as they are right now. We will try to do this next one in person. I think we're at a point that we would be comfortable doing that. So that, I just wanted to toss that out for y'all's consideration. If there's a grave pushback, then Fran and I'll sit back and go back to the calendar and then throw out a date after the meeting.
what do you want to do? You want to poll?
Yeah, if we can just get a quick kind of feedback on that from everybody.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
It works for me.
The bank department will not be able to be present that day. That's our annual bankers convention, and it kicks off on that Wednesday. So it's Wednesday and Thursday. And so we just, me or a designee wouldn't be there, but don't let us be the only ones unavailable.
Okay, ouch, okay.
That might impact Bankers Association too.
Okay. I think we're good. We'll continue to target that and tweak around the edges if something big comes up.
We'll make sure everybody's informed.
Yep.
So, okay, hearing, do we have any other discussion, comments, with respect to this meeting or, okay, hearing none, then I'm going to propose that we adjourn. So appreciate everybody's, interaction and, trust and hope you have a great upcoming weekend and stay safe. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.